Hello, our friends, Evolutionary, EEARTS, Heart's Home Family.
Hello there, welcome back.
And guys, we want to invite anybody that would love to come join us over on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you could get extra access to other videos that will go up over there that won't go up anywhere else, because we just no. Part of it is because we can't, because Evolutionary is demonized, let's just say. And also, really, I want to apologize to our patrons, because it's really long overdue that we do Patreon only material, as that's part of what most channels do, is basically give extra to those that are truly supporting them. So that's what we want to do and what we plan on doing as we move forward. So again, for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to that material. And at the moment, I think we have 122 Patreons. So we want to thank each and every one of you guys again for your support.
Every single one, because it really, really helps.
Absolutely. Because again, they hate this material going out there. When we say they, we mean the machine, the matrix, that wants to keep us divided. They don't want to have us help others realize that the world doesn't have to be this way, and in reality, it's only this way for a short period of time in a darker age. So basically, 1/3 of the world, about 2.5 billion people, identify as Christian in this world. And you could add more than 1 billion more that identify as Muslim. So, again, the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition, the Abrahamic tradition, does dominate the consciousness of the planet in some ways. And Christianity is the largest of those. And again, who really was Jesus Yeshua? Well, again, for one, he wasn't really referred to as Jesus until one of the, as far as in print and all, until a version of the Bible that now I'm forgetting if it was Switzerland or Sweden. It was one of those two. And, again, that wasn't in print until like 1,500 years after he lived. We do have some manuscripts, bits and pieces and fragments that maybe are from 200 to 300 years after he lived, according to the timelines that were given, which may or may not be accurate either. And then again, how many full documents do we have? Well, the oldest Gospel of John is probably created somewhere between 300 and 400 AD, according again to the timelines they give us. And it has tons, hundreds, if not 1,000 little annotations to it, where things have been corrected, crossed out, a little explanation given here. So, do we really have, if we only look at the original sources that are given to us from the power structure, really, what do we have? How much do we really know the true Yeshua? That's a big question, because there was more than one whole belief set about him. And as we were saying, in this picture, it really feels kind of like he's either a yogi, or he's coming across with the energy of a monk, be that a monk of any persuasion, just basically in a place of solitude, sitting down and meditating. This one has a very shamanistic feel and vibe to it. Really, I like it because, it's also indicating the third eye and the crown chakra, which in his case were both extremely activated.
Mm-hmm. When I channel into his energy, I feel a being who is very loving, very kind, very considerate. One thing I don't feel when I channel in is a lot of ego, in the sense where, making people follow him out of, one reason or another. he was not like that at all. And what I see about the Bible is just a whole bunch of padding around the real Yeshua, who he was, because for him to teach, he was also a great healer. He understood, he's understanding and helping us understand fifth density and what we can do when it comes to our bodies in that fifth density. Things like bilocate, astral travel. He taught all of these things amongst other really beautiful, benevolent teachings as far as how to open your heart and how to help heal.
Absolutely. And so, from what we get, we feel he was more of, well, at least he was associating himself with the group that we know of as the Essenes. So, was he an Essene? I would say to a degree, but I don't think he would label himself anything.
No.
He would not label himself anything. We have this urge to label, and it's natural, but at the same time, it's limiting.
Very limiting when you put labels on things. That's one thing I think when I went through my awakening is to drop the labels, but at the same time, sometimes you need them to help describe something that you're unable to describe. So it has its purpose, but there's also a time when you have to dismiss them, and everyone is individual and unique. So we just utilize the tools that we have to the best of our ability to explain things. And that's probably one of the more difficult things when it comes to channeling. You're getting vibrations, you're getting images, you're getting emotions, and you are taking all of this into your body and you're translating it along with seeing a picture or a vision or a movie of the person and their mannerisms, and like the way they hold their hands, the way they speak, the aura, the energy they're putting off. So all of this goes into one big translation, and we do our best. We just do our best.
Yeah, I don't really even see him saying, "I am the Christ." No. Yeah, Cindy says, absolutely no way. So when you start thinking in those terms, that's all ego. That's all ego. He was about Christ consciousness. Or the anointing of the Kundalini. Again, it's the pineal gland, it's the cerebral spinal fluid, it's the circulation of the energy through the Ida and the Pingala, the two main nadis or energy channels, which directs the energy up the Sushumna, which brings about the enlightenment. It's experiential. It's experiential. So no, he would not have said, I am the Christ and you are not. No. Yeah, it couldn't be any farther from the truth. Again, what do they want to do? What does the control system want to do? They simply give us another God to worship instead of giving you the true message of the messenger, which is the fact that, everything you need, you have in you. And God is in you. The Creator is in you. Source is in you. Could not be any other way. Could not be any other way. It's interesting to look at the belief systems because, again, what you have as modern Christianity truly came about through a series of councils, starting with the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, according to these history books. It's really that's when the debates started and they came about. And who was doing this? This was the power structure doing this. The power structure. This was Rome. This was the Roman Empire. This was something that was put into effect and into being by the Roman emperor, who was, yes, he was born a pagan, and then just had a vision, and his vision, he said, was to go out and conquer, meaning war, kill other people to take over their territory under the cross. Well, the cross of Nibiru maybe, but not the cross of Yeshua. That's the big realization. And yeah, it's interesting when you look at Gnosticism, which in 100, 200 AD, in the early times of early Christianity, was as much a part of the Christian belief system. There were many out there that professed a Gnostic point of view, Christian and not. And these are some key beliefs, but not all Gnostics believe this too. This is another distortion where they say all Gnostics believe this. No, there are many different schools in Gnosticism. Now, this is what we get from Christianity.com. They say that key beliefs of Gnosticism: material world is bad, spirit world is good. Material world is under the control of evil, ignorance, or nothingness. Well, that's kind of interesting because we are under a pretty dark control system, but ultimately, the original control matrix that was put into effect, the original creator of this universe, is most definitely benevolent and very, very good. The universe was created with good intents, but has come under the sway of a dark control grid. So, you got to say the basic Gnostic belief there is fairly accurate. A divine spark is somehow trapped in some, but not all humans. Oh boy. Uh-oh, there you're going. Now that's a little bit of that, NPC thing going there. Isn't that curious too? That some have source trapped. Now that's kind of Buddhist. In that, we have to escape the flesh. Now, there are Gnostics that took this to the extreme, really to the extreme, with, again, not treating the body properly and not giving, good nutrition to the body, even things like, self-abuse. So I'm just going to leave it there, in many different ways, in order to overcome the flesh. So, people will take things to the extremes. But then again, you look to Buddhism, and one of the things that Buddha did was spend time out in the woods with the ascetics who did the same thing as some branches of Gnosticism. They kind of rejected the body. They would only eat what they were given by people who were pitying them. They wouldn't, necessarily go out and grow their own food or anything like that. They didn't work. They just meditated. They just wanted to rise above the physical world. But this has been a Kali Yuga. And when Yeshua came and when Buddha was here, that it was deep in the Kali Yuga. We are now stepping into Dwapara. We are stepping into Bronze Age. So we're leaving all that darkness. The world transforms. When you get to a Silver Age, it's pretty darn good. And when you get to a Golden Age, it's heaven on earth. It all depends on the cycle of the yugas. Now, salvation, or per se salvation, using that word, which really is coming about through the modern Christian theology, which again we can go trace back to the 325 AD and then the subsequent councils, is through secret knowledge by which individuals come to know themselves, their origin, their destiny. Well, sort of. Again, now this is from Christianity.com. It's really about inner knowing that is experienced. Now, so again, you have a distortion, and you'll have the modern, the orthodox, the fundamentalist point of view trying to paint anything that's not that in a negative light. This is part of how the system utilizes duality to their benefit. Since a good God could not have created an evil world, it must have been created by an inferior, ignorant, or evil God. So this is where the archons come in. Ooh, and the archon's a good, it is absolutely, has some relevance to it. Ultimately, Satan is an AI system per se, but there are also these very, very dark beings that we can certainly call archonic, and our dark beings, absolutely. Again, I think the law of one has it pretty good. Service to self, service to others is very, very basic. And it does give you a fundamental kind of point of view, and they are certainly in service to themselves. So then you also get the demiurge. And, who is the demiurge? Well, they viewed it as Yahweh. Yahweh, which, again, they studied and they saw all these atrocious acts, extermination, etc., being carried out by a being that's saying it's the God of the Bible. And they said, this can't be God. And when, at one quote, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were your religious lawgivers of the day, let's say they're the religious counterpart to our House and Senate, come forward and start, saying he's a blasphemer when he says I and the Father are one. That is basic self-realization out of the Hindu playbook, the Sanatana Dharma. That's the whole point of everything, is realizing source is in you. And that's what the Gnostics were trying to say. Source is in you. Now that means you don't need priests. That means you don't really need any churches. You don't need any power structure. In fact, the power structure is actually serving the dark side. And this is why they were persecuted.
Mm-hmm. We do not need instruction. I think that's the thing that I like to get across, is we don't need instruction to be human beings. And, understanding how the human body and the human soul operates, you just look to nature. You look at a little baby. When a little baby comes into this world, they're going to need something, and they're going to cry until someone figures out what they need. But after a while, what you'll notice with children is they want to help. They start looking to see what their parents are doing, what their grandparents are doing, and they'll notice people helping. And it's almost like, it's so beautiful, like a blooming of a flower. A flower needs no instructions. We do not either. Examples are wonderful, but it's already deep inside of us to want to help. It's deep inside of us, that drive to help each other grow, to help each other go the next mile, go the next step. And I think what's happened to us is very artificial, in the sense that it's turned around into some sort of competition, some kind of competition where I'm better than, you're better than. And in that sense, I feel our journey on this planet is a little bit corrupted, but not beyond, because we came here to have these experiences, and sometimes they're messy.
So here we see Gnosis, intuitive knowledge of spiritual truths. Intuitive knowledge. Now, it said the ancient Gnostics knew this experientially. Why? How? Well, again, they worked on themselves. They meditated. They had practices that were just part of their daily routine, which would enable them to connect with Source. The Essenes lived outside of the cities. They lived away from everybody else because they didn't want that energy around them. They recognized, actually the power structure truly is satanic. And even back in those days, it was satanic, adversarial to Earth, to humanity, to all of life. So they lived outside of it, kind of like, your Amish and some other groups today. And it's experiential. You can't study this and pass the test. You have to experience this. The mystical science of inner knowing. It's not about facts and figures. It's not about, again, coming down and getting a 75 on a test I got this right. Oh, shoot, I knew that one. No, it's the realization. It's something that happens inside you. Very much esoteric, very much occult. It has to be occult because the system will do what they did to the Gnostics and many, many others. They'll eradicate them. They'll book burn. They'll wipe away any of the knowledge that truly leads to the freedom for humanity. It really should be just so blazingly self-evident that obviously the biggest belief systems in a world that's truly controlled by the adversary, Satan, is going to be Satan's belief systems. I mean, how obvious is that? That should be so self-evident. And when you look deeper and you realize, so it's a matter of self-discovery. Self-discovery. Now, again, there's really nothing that he was teaching that was any different than you could have learned studying some forms of yoga, studying some forms of various different traditions. And in the West, it had to be completely hidden because again, you would be persecuted. And the myth of Sophia. Sophia is wisdom, but it's also divine feminine. And in some traditions, Yeshua is very much thought of as the yang energy, and Mary Magdalene is thought of as the yin. And together they are the one, in that sense. But again, we are all constructed of both of those energies, with one dominating. Again, everything you see in this world has been purposely twisted, distorted, turned. It is so unnatural. And again, it's becoming so obvious. I'll have these links for anybody that wants to go deeper. Now, each one of these is written by a different author, so they'll have some slightly different perspectives. And we don't, necessarily agree completely with anybody, because Cindy and I are completely unique. And, some of our most devoted channel followers out there will have a slightly different opinion too. And good for you, because you're unique and we love you that way.
Oh, we do. It's wonderful. We get to come here and express ourselves in a particular way. You'd think of a diamond and all the different facets on a diamond, and each little facet, it's going to reflect slightly differently, because it is just slightly different. And isn't that beautiful? And a lot of people who do channel information, their understanding, their ability to channel this information is going to depend a lot on their belief system or no belief system. But it is also going to depend on how they perceive a lot of things. So that's why information is going to be slightly different from person to person. Source is exploring itself, and isn't it a beautiful thing?
Yeah, so Gnosticism is a school of thought originally developed in the ancient pagan world and championed by philosophers like Pythagoras. Many very, very deep thinkers have spoken of this school of thought. And again, we can find, when we look at Gnosticism, when we look at, say, Hermeticism, another study that teaches all about the inner workings, the occult mysteries. Ooh, you don't want to dabble in the occult. The devil's gonna get you. No, the devil's already got the fundamentalist minds locked up. That's the problem. And again, the devil will direct and say, oh, they're witches, might as well burn them, because they're up to no good. And then same the natives are, they're savages, so we're saving their souls even if we kick them off their land and take everything that they have. This is why, that duality was brought up, and thinking that there's more than one being in play in the Bible. There seems to be a loving God, seems to be a very dark God. It's because in reality, it's a reference to the ones that we know as the Anunnaki, and yes, you have your Enlils and Enkis and many others involved as well. And it's also a reference in some ways to the true creator of this particular universe. It's all been jumbled together and distorted and used as a control matrix. But the truth will set you free, and the truth is, you don't need any of these belief systems. You can develop your own. Take what feels right. Learn how to feel into things, because again, it's all about that gnosis. It's about that knowing, which is only really gotten through going through this tangled web and feeling what is true and right and what resonates with you. And it's fascinating, really, because whether we're looking at Hermeticism, Kabbalah, whether we're looking at Gnosticism, or if we jump over and we could look into some of the Eastern traditions and, Hinduism and others, Taoism, and we'll see a lot of the same similarities. Ultimately, consciousness. It's consciousness. That's the key. Consciousness is what we cannot get behind. We cannot find anything that precedes consciousness. And the reality that you're in this body, but you are not this body, is the beginning of all wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Understanding what, knowing yourself, understanding who you are, what aspects of you are here in this lifetime, what aspects did you utilize, and past lifetimes. And lately, what I've been hearing from the guides a lot is don't be so quick to, not enjoy your visit here in 3D. Yes, things might be a little bit difficult, but this is the place where you get to expand the most. This is the place where you get to learn those lessons and you keep them within your soul. In a later time, you can go through them and you find even more understanding. So the 3D definitely has its purpose. And to sit in this body, enjoy the ongoing things going on around you is part of the reason why we came here.
Well, I came here for the cheesecake, but that's me, so
It's good stuff.
it is good stuff. And that's one thing, as you learn how to lucid dream and take control of your dreams and start to remember every detail in your dreams, you'll start to recognize that maybe you had a dream that you're cooking and you're laying out a beautiful spread, but you can't taste the food because this is really the only place where you can taste the food. This is the realm of duality, and so there is a heavy realm. The vibrational frequency here is very, very low, but that makes things painful, that makes things pleasurable, that makes things sumptuous and yummy, and it can make other things icky too.
Well, I always say pain is your greatest teacher, because when something is poking at you and it hurts, you're going to find out what it is and what it's about and bring some resolution.
It's a temporary journey. And so when he says, I and the Father are one, he knows who he is. He knows where he comes from. He knows the original plan. He understands the bigger picture. And your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render to the world, Ramana Maharishi. That is true. Understanding who you are, because you are a unique version of Source. You are Source. Source is having an experience as you. So you can know the self only through its attributes. The only thing you need to know is the soul. Well, the true self, So again, maybe we would describe things different, because when you're talking about, how do we know Jane Doe? Well, Jane's a lovely wife, and she's a great mom, and she plays beautiful music, and she cooks wonderful. No. Again, it's who is that essence. I gotta say, Avatar with that I see you, that was really good. Even though we understand, who puts out these movies and all, there are some gems that come along in there, and that seeing the soul, the eyes are the window of the soul, and you can see the true being when you look into somebody's eyes. When one awakens, they find that they are part of the one great reality and realizes their union with all things. So again, Paramahamsa Yogananda, and he did a book talking about the second coming of Christ within you. Again, because the second coming, it's all an individual basis, one person at a time. It's realizing the anointed one in you, and that starts with, again, letting the light of thine eye be single. So illuminating the pineal, cleaning up our diets, steering clear from lower vibrational frequencies, steer clear of the traps of the ego, because the ego, this is what they utilize all the time. They try to utilize, and if you want to call it, Satan wants to utilize that ego to serve its purpose.
Indeed.
But thank you guys for being part of this family. Look forward to your suggestions and comments. Let us know what other things you want to explore. Please share with us, what do you want to see on this channel?
Yes.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.